Let me show you how to tie my skinny water fluke fishing rig. The first thing I like to do when I'm tying my skinny water fluke fishing rig is I like to pick out a good leader material. I have Seaguar inshore fluorocarbon right here. This is 15-pound test, and what it does is it allows the presentation of the jig to be much more natural when using a lighter line like this one. So first things first, I'm going to take a small section that's on the roll right here. I like to use high visibility line. I'm using a high visibility 10-pound test braid right here. And what I do first is I'm going to attach the fluorocarbon leader to my line coming off my reel with a uni to uni knot. So what I do is I cross these two lines just like this. Okay. I'm going to take my fluorocarbon line and I'm going to loop it over the braid just like that. So I have a loop just like that. Now on the braid, on the fluorocarbon side, I like to do 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 twists. Now holding everything in place just like this, I'm going to hold on to the tag end of the fluorocarbon right here, and I'm going to grab the braided line with my other fingers just like this, and I'm going to pull. Keep everything held tight. It should cinch right into place. At this point, when you're about right at this, you want to just grab the fluorocarbon and pull. Okay, so one side of my uni to uni knot is done, and we're going to switch over. We're going to flip it over just like this, move the leader material over here. Now we're going to do the braided end of the uni to uni knot. High vis yellow line makes it a lot easier to tie. Again, same thing that you just did on the other end. Do your loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I added a few more twists in there because the braid is a lot thinner than the fluorocarbon. Same thing, hold both lines. Once you get to right about there, just pull on the braided line. Okay, so now we have 2 knots that are separate from each other. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add a little lubrication right in the middle here, and we're going to pull. You're going to hold the braided line and you're going to hold the fluorocarbon line. These will slide right into place and meet up with each other. Okay, give it a couple twists, a couple pulls to make sure it's tight. All right, that's a tight knot. So now we're just going to have to trim away our tag ends. Make sure you clip the right one. I actually clipped the main lines, and you have to start all over. So nice and tight right there. And same thing on the other side. Okay, so that's our uni to uni knot all set. Now we're going to move on to the dropper loop portion of this rig. You go about 1 foot away from the uni to uni knot, just like that, and you're going to start working right there. For the dropper loop, we're going to make a big loop. Remember to go bigger than your actual loop is going to be, because you're going to use some material to make this dropper loop right here. So that's about the size of like a softball right there. That's how big you want your loop to be, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to tie a dropper loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Open it up, pull this through. Okay, nice and tight, and our drop loop is complete.
3.
Your next step is to tie the clip to your end of your line. This allows you to swap out your bucktails and your jigs really quickly when the tide picks up or slows down. Also, one of the reasons why I start this rig from the back going forward is that when you do tie your clip on, it allows you to make that segment of line from the dropper loop to the clip the exact amount that you want it to. Let's move on with that. So from the dropper loop to the clip, we're going to do about 15, 16 inches. Give it a little bit more just for the knot. You want to give a little bit extra material always. So that's about 17, 18 inches right there. So we're going to take that and we're going to cut right there. So we have about 18 inches right there. Now I'm going to tie our clip on. Next, we're going to tie the clip onto the end of our rig. If you notice, this clip has a 45-degree bend in it, and that's the end that's going to be on the top of your clip. That's what the top is going to be where your knot goes to as well. So I'll show you guys right here. Like that. We'll tie this with a clinch knot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Go back through. Just want to add a little lubrication right here. And what I like to do is sometimes a small clip like this isn't really much to hold on to, so I'll take a jig and I'll clip it on there. Be careful not to impale yourself, but I'll cinch it down like this. Just like that. Get a nice clean cinch, all set to go. That's not coming off really tight. At this point, you want to trim off your excess. Now we're going to move on to putting either a bare hook or a teaser of your choice onto your dropper loop. So I'm going to pick the teaser right here. This is a pink teaser, a great color for fluke fishing. What I'm going to do is, you see how this hook has a bend that goes this way? You always want to put the loop in on this side of the bend, right here. Start on that side so it sits naturally. Okay, so we're just going to slide that right onto our dropper loop. Just like this. And that's ready to go. If you don't want to use a teaser, you can also use a plain bait holder hook as well. This is a 3/0 hook, and on this hook I'll either put a fish bites or a gulp grub. It works just as good as a teaser, if not better sometimes. The final part of this rig is choosing what to put on your clip. Again, using a clip like this makes swapping out a jig or a jig head a lot easier. You can go with a bucktail, sometimes fluke like that, or one of my favorites even is just using a plain jig head right here. With, of course, using a fish bites or a gulp on this as well. When fishing, always make sure your presentation is right. So I'm going to show you guys how to rig a gulp on this jig head to make sure your presentation is right. Gulp, jig head. You want to just hold it up next to the jig head, just like that. You want to see where the barb of the hook is going to come out. So I see it's going to come out right before the narrow part on my gulp. Also, when you rig it, make sure your bait is facing the right way so the curly tail performs how it's supposed to. Okay, so I see it's going to pop out right about there. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to thread it on. Come out just like that. And push it up. As you see, it sits perfectly on there. Straight, perfect presentation. When going for summer flounder, you're always switching out the size of your jig head because the current increases and decreases during the tide. So having proper organization of your jig heads is a pretty important part of fluking. Keep mine organized right here. When I'm skinny water fluking, I'm using anywhere from 1/8, 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce, and 3/4 ounce. All these sizes can possibly be used when skinny water fluke fishing. It's up to you to determine which one to use based on your tidal conditions at the time. You don't want your jig to drag along the bottom, but you also don't want it to touch the bottom at all. Using the right size jig is key for proper presentation. Don't shy away from the skinny water. I've seen plenty of double-digit doormats come up from these shallows. I'm Broderick from the Fisherman magazine.